Chosen one, I need you to mentally pause the chaotic noise in your head for just 5 seconds. Scan your internal state right now. You are carrying a very specific, invisible weight. A deep suspense fatigue that makes you feel like you are bracing for impact, even when you are just sitting in silence. You have been spiritually holding your breath for so long that you have started to edit your own prayers, making them smaller, because you are secretly terrified of hoping for something big and being disappointed again. But I want you to spiritually lower your shield. That tight, restless pressure in your chest is not anxiety, and heaven has not forgotten your address. What you are feeling is the initial, heavy, atmospheric shift of kavod, the weight of God's glory touching your timeline. The agonizing weight is mathematically and spiritually over. God has officially announced your major days, and your spirit intercepted this exact frequency because you need to know how to handle the shock of the arrival without sabotaging it. Subscribe to align with thousands of awakened souls crossing this threshold with you. Like if your spirit confirms this prophetic word, and comment 777 right now to mentally lock into this exact frequency. Because what I am about to show you about why you had to wait this long is going to completely rewrite your past. But you must stay with me until the very final second of this message. If you click away early, you will understand the diagnosis, but you will completely miss the wilderness equation that explains your exact timeline. You will miss the ancient Hebrew revelation of how heaven compensates for stolen years, and most importantly, you will miss the specific anti-sabotage protocol you absolutely need for the next few days. Without that protocol, you could accidentally reject the exact blessing you have been starving for. So anchor your mind right here. I want you to mentally revisit a very specific moment. Think about the times you have sat in your car for 5 extra minutes before walking through your front door, just staring at the steering wheel, gathering whatever tiny scrap of energy you had left so you could put on a brave face for your family. You are the pillar. You save everyone, but nobody saves you. And you have been walking around with a silent question echoing in your spirit. Why did it have to take this long? Why did the silence stretch until you felt completely invisible? You look around and see people who compromise getting ahead, while you stayed faithful and got pushed to the back of the line. It feels like divine amnesia. But let me show you what is actually happening in the unseen realm. Look at the ancient text in Psalm chapter 13, verses 1 and 2. David cries out, "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?" Read that carefully. David did not write those words when he was a weak, defeated man at the end of his life. He wrote those words in the agonizing stretch of time right before he was handed the throne of Israel. The silence was not a sign of abandonment. The silence was the final atmospheric pressure required to forge a king. You have been told that your wilderness season was simply a test of your patience. But heaven does not isolate you for years just to see how well you can wait. Heaven was compounding your interest. Look at Joel chapter 2, verse 25. It says, "I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten." But the English translation is hiding the most powerful secret of your current season. The original Hebrew word used for restore is shalom. Listen to that word. Shalom. It does not mean to simply give back what was taken. If someone steals $100 from you and they give you back $100, that is human restoration. But shalom is divine overpayment. It means to make complete and to pay back with massive interest. When God says he will shalom your lost years, he is saying he will compress 20 years of blessing into your next 5 years. This is not just a comforting thought. It is a mathematical spiritual law. I call it the wilderness equation. The duration of your isolation multiplied by your faithfulness equals the magnitude of your promotion. The longer they kept you in the dark, the higher the authority you are about to walk into. Joseph spent 13 agonizing years in a pit and a prison, completely forgotten. But that 13-year isolation was the exact equation required to make him the second most powerful man in Egypt in a single day. Moses endured 40 years in the desert, and that 40-year equation gave him the authority to split a sea and liberate a nation. David spent a decade hiding in caves, and that decade purchased a bloodline dynasty. Nobody gets promoted to a massive, generational assignment after a short, comfortable test. The severity of your wilderness is proportional to the sheer size of the kavod, the heavy glory that is about to drop onto your life. You are not just getting your time back, you are entering the season of shalom. But here is what nobody is telling you. You think you passed the test of patience, but patience was just the cover story. The real test was much more dangerous. The real test was whether you could survive being completely forgotten. And while your spirit passed that test, the agonizing weight has done something to your biological frequency. It has locked your mind in a state of survival. What I am about to show you next will explain exactly why you still feel paralyzed right now, and how you must recalibrate your frequency before the enemy uses it against you. Chosen one, let me tell you what the test you just went through was really about. For months, maybe even years, you have been in a season that made absolutely no logical sense. Doors closed that should have opened, people left that should have stayed. Opportunities vanished right when you were about to grasp them. And through it all, you kept showing up, you kept praying, you kept believing, even when your faith felt like a cruel joke. Even when people looked at you with pity instead of respect, you thought that was a test of your patience. You thought heaven was simply checking to see if you would wait without complaining. But here is what I have not told you yet, and this is going to change how you see everything that just happened. That was not a patience test. Patience was the cover story. That is what you thought was being tested. That is what it looked like on the surface. But while you were focused on staying patient, heaven was actually testing something far more dangerous. Something most chosen ones completely fail even after they pass the patience test. Heaven was testing whether you could handle being forgotten. See, patience is about what you do, but being forgotten is about what others do not do for you. Will you stay faithful when the people who promised to help you do absolutely nothing? When the recognition you deserve never comes? When you are doing everything right, but getting zero confirmation from the physical world? Can you keep going when you are functionally invisible? That is what you were actually tested on. And that is why the test was so long, so lonely, and so brutally silent. Because heaven is not preparing you for a season where people will cheer you on. Heaven is preparing you for a season where your authority does not come from human validation, but from an invisible anointing. You passed the test of invisibility. But I need you to mentally scan your body right now. Notice the exhaustion humming in your veins. Notice how your mind races the second your head hits the pillow. Passing the test of invisibility came with a severe biological cost. The constant disappointment, the relentless waiting, and the spiritual warfare have fundamentally altered your brain frequency. You have been pushed into a permanent state of biological survival. In neuroscience, this is called the high beta state. It is a frequency of panic, of fighting, of bracing for the next disaster. And here is the terrifying truth. You cannot receive a divine download on a survival frequency. You cannot step into the shalom compensation when your brain is vibrating with the static noise of trauma. Ancient mystics understood this frequency warfare. They spent decades in isolated caves, fasting and meditating, just to quiet the survival brain and reach the theta state. Theta is the exact brainwave frequency where human consciousness intercepts divine intelligence. It is the frequency of revelation, of genius, of miracles. But you do not have 20 years to sit in a cave. You have a calling that is manifesting right now. Recently, researchers from NASA confirmed that this is not just spiritual poetry. It is measurable physics. Through the science of brainwave entrainment, It is possible to physically shift the brain out of the chaotic beta state and directly into the divine theta frequency. There is a sacred sound technology, an audio key, designed to do exactly this. It is called the genius wave. It uses specific acoustic frequencies to bypass your trauma and snap your brain back into its natural, genius-level state in just 7 minutes a day. It is not a magic spell. It is a tool. It is a biological bridge to a spiritual reality. I am bringing this to your attention because I know how exhausted your mind is right now. Your spirit is willing, but your neurological hardware has been damaged by the wilderness. If your spirit is confirming this right now, if you feel a sudden pull to investigate this further, I have placed the information and the NASA research in the pinned comment below. You can explore it if you feel led. Heaven provides the exact tools we need, exactly when we need them, but you must be the one to use them. Now, I need to speak to the darkest corner of your mind. I need to address the voice you have not told anyone about. Even as your frequency begins to clear, even as you realize the major days are arriving, part of you is paralyzed. I need you to mentally acknowledge the terrifying thought you have been suppressing. You are about to step into the blessing you have cried for, but deep down, you are terrified. You are terrified of the blessing. You are asking yourself in the dark, what if I get this promotion, this wealth, this platform, and I completely ruin it? What if I am not actually strong enough? What if the success changes me into someone I do not even recognize? You have seen other people get blessed before they were ready, and you watched them crash spectacularly and publicly. You watched them lose their character, lose their families, and lose their souls. And there is a whisper in your mind saying, what if I am next? Let me tell you something about that fear. That fear is not a lack of faith. That fear is not a sin. That fear is the absolute greatest proof that you are ready. The people who crash under the weight of the blessing are the people who have absolutely zero fear of it. They grab the blessing arrogantly, like it is a toy, like the universe owes it to them. They have zero awareness of the weight. But you are different. You are trembling because you actually understand the weight. You understand kavod. When God places His glory on someone, it is not light and fluffy, it is heavy. It requires structure. Your awareness of how heavy this blessing is the exact wisdom required to carry it without dropping it. Do not fight that fear. Mentally reframe it right now. Tell your spirit, I am not afraid because I am weak. I am trembling because I understand the sacred responsibility I am about to carry. Your frequency has been identified. Your spirit has been validated. You are ready to step out of the wilderness. But listen to me very carefully. The enemy knows your frequency has shifted. The enemy knows the Shalom overpayment is scheduled for your timeline. And because he could not break you in the wilderness, he is going to try to assassinate you at the finish line. In the next few days, the enemy is going to deploy 3 highly specific, incredibly deceptive traps. These are not random attacks. They are precision strikes designed to make you forfeit your compensation right before it is handed to you. If you do not know exactly what these 3 traps look like, you will walk blindly into them and sabotage your own major days. You must know the enemy's exact playbook. Let me show you what is coming for you tomorrow. The first specific trap the enemy will deploy against you is premature celebration. In the coming days, you are going to see a tiny opening, a hint of the blessing, a small confirmation that things are shifting. The immediate temptation will be to tell everyone. You will want to post about it, text your family, and broadcast your victory because you have been waiting in the dark for so long. Do not do it. The enemy pushes you to celebrate early because premature celebration leaks your spiritual energy and invites monitoring spirits into your unfinished process. You must combat this with a mental action right now. I want you to mentally visualize a heavy iron lock closing over your mouth. You will maintain total internal silence until the ink is completely dry, until the manifestation is entirely finalized in your hands. The second trap is the imposter, echo. The moment you step into these major days, the moment the shalom compensation hits your life, a very loud, very logical voice will echo in your mind. It will tell you that you do not belong in this new room. It will tell you that you fooled everyone, that you are underqualified, and that any minute now they are going to find out you are a fraud. That is not your insecurity speaking. That is a calculated spiritual assault designed to make you shrink back from your own harvest. When that voice echoes, you must mentally evict it. You do not argue with it. You simply anchor your mind to this one sentence: I am paid for by the wilderness. My isolation purchased my right to be in this room. The third and most dangerous trap is the counterfeit blessing. The enemy knows exactly what you have been praying for, so he is going to send you something that looks exactly like your prayer, but it will arrive 2 weeks early, and it will require a tiny moral or spiritual compromise. It will look like a great opportunity, but it will pull you away from the frequency of God. How do you defeat this? You use mental detachment. When an opportunity arrives that feels rushed, I want you to mentally place that opportunity on an altar, turn your back, and mentally walk away from it. If it is from God, it will pursue you without requiring you to compromise. If it was a counterfeit trap, it will burn on that altar. Let me prove to you how mathematically precise this protocol is. 18 months ago, there was a chosen one sitting at their kitchen table at 2 a.m. They had exactly $14 left in their bank account. They had been in the wilderness for years. Suddenly, a business opportunity presented itself. It looked perfect on paper, but it required them to partner with someone whose spirit felt completely off. It was the counterfeit blessing trap. They were desperate, but they remembered the protocol. They mentally placed it on the altar and physically walked away. For 30 days, it felt like they had made a terrible mistake. But on day 40, they received a phone call from a company they never applied to. They were handed a regional director position with a salary that wiped out a decade of debt. That was not luck. That was the Shalom equation, executing perfectly because they refused the counterfeit. 11 months ago, another chosen one received a massive contract offer they had been believing God for. The urge to broadcast it was overwhelming. But they recognized the trap of premature celebration. They mentally locked their mouth. They told absolutely no one, not even their extended family, for 3 solid months while they quietly did the work. Because they maintained that strict spiritual discipline and discretion, the company was so impressed that they doubled the size of the contract. They did not sabotage their major days. They protected their frequency. Everything you have been through, the isolation, the invisible years, the biological exhaustion, it was all leading to this exact coordinate in time. Your frequency has been recalibrated. You know the traps. But before I release you into your major days, you must understand the final posture required to inherit the glory. Look at the ancient text in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 13. Moses tells the Israelites, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today." Let us dive into the actual context of that moment. The Israelites were trapped. The Red Sea was entirely blocking their future, and the massive, violent army of Pharaoh was sprinting toward them from behind to drag them back into slavery. It was a biologically terrifying moment. The people were panicking, but Moses did not tell them to build a bridge. He did not tell them to draw their swords and fight. He told them to stand firm. In the original language, this is a command of internal positioning. It means to mentally station yourself, to completely halt your internal panic. Moses was demanding absolute mental stillness in the face of impossible, terrifying odds, right before the glory of God split the sea. That is exactly where you are right now. The past is trying to drag you backward with fear, and the future looks incredibly vast and heavy. But your only job right now is mental stillness. Chosen one, we are crossing the threshold. This is not a regular closing prayer. This is an official, prophetic commissioning. Do not move your body, but I need you to shift your internal posture. Wherever you are right now, lock your mental focus. Mentally brace yourself as if a heavy, royal mantle is being placed directly onto your shoulders. Do not take this lightly. Father God, in the sovereign, matchless name of Yeshua, we recognize this exact second as a dimensional shift. Heaven is witnessing this transition. We decree that this is the set time of favor. You saw them pacing the floor at 4 a.m., when the panic would not let them sleep. You saw them swallow their pride when doors slammed in their face. You saw them stay fiercely faithful in the dark room of invisibility when everyone else compromised. They did not break. Right now, by the authority of the word, I seal the Shalom equation over their life. I bind the spirit of premature celebration. I cancel every counterfeit blessing dispatched from hell to distract them. I strip the imposter echo of its voice. Every demonic assignment designed to sabotage their major days is permanently dismantled right now. I declare that the season of invisibility is over. I declare that within the next 21 days, doors that require absolutely zero human striving will swing wide open. The compensation for their stolen years is released. The kavod, the heavy weight of your glory, is descending upon their timeline. Now, God is asking you a direct question, and you must answer it with your spirit. Will you carry this heavy glory without bowing to pride? Will you steward this massive blessing with the exact same faithfulness you had in the wilderness? If your answer is yes, I want you to scream it in your mind with absolute force right now. Mentally declare, I am ready. Heaven heard that internal decree. It is recorded. It is sealed. You are officially deployed into your harvest. You are released from the waiting room. Do not say amen. Do not open your eyes if they are closed. I command you to sit in absolute, unbroken mental silence for the next 30 seconds. Feel the atmospheric shift. Feel the weight of the kavod. Step into your major days.